start with a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Margaret, can you please call the roll?
Tony Dorsey.
Here.
Tony Sinta. Here. John Foreman.
Here.
Ann Sater.
Here.
Kevin Shively.
Here.
Nicole Satin. Richard Wolf.
Here.
And Mary Isaac.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Cinto, could you please read Resolution TC 30-01? Yes.
Thank you. Resolution TC 30-01 be resolved, whereas pursuant to Public Act 23-204, the Connecticut Secretary of State will provide a grant to each municipality in the amount of $10,500 for the costs related to implement and conducting early voting. And Vicky A. Tesoro for selectman is hereby authorized as individual authorized to sign the grant application to the Connecticut State Secretary of State, and all subsequent contracts, amendments, reports, and relative documents in order to administer and implement the early voting program. The full resolution is attached.
Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any questions about this resolution?
I believe we have, was Rena?
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. I believe Rena is here if anybody has any questions for economic development.
Exchange voters.
Oh, Rick, I'm sorry. My apologies.
I saw you come in.
Sorry.
My apologies.
Are there any questions?
I don't have anything.
Why don't you just give us like a brief overview what your thoughts are and how you're going to do all this stuff? Is that enough money?
No.
How's that?
We have no idea how much it's actually going to cost because we don't even know yet what technology we're going to be using. However, we do know that there will be significant overtime costs in the office because our office, the registrar's office, will be where the early voting booths are going to be set up. And as each person comes in to vote, he or she has to be checked off on the central voter registration system, and that requires somebody who's familiar with CVRS. That's my staff. So that they will have to be there essentially throughout all the hours of early voting, including the couple of days where it goes until 8 o'clock at night. So there will be overtime. The other thing is that we would like to do a major sort of a political publicity push to let people know that if they're going to vote early, where it's going to be, what the hours are, and the fact is they cannot use a tabulator. All right? Their ballots will go into a ballot bag and will not be counted until the night of election day. And people have to know that. They're not going to be able to shove their ballot into a voting machine. We want to make sure that goes out.
I kind of heard something about this stuff where you're going to be like voting like you're doing an absentee ballot.
In fact.
You're going to fold it up and then sign it and then put it in the bag.
That is correct.
Okay, because that can be a machine.
That is correct, and we have to get the word out because there's going to be a lot of unhappy people if we don't. So we anticipate some kind of mailing. I don't know whether it's going to be letters or postcards or something, but the costs on that come on $6,000.
Now, your first test drive is going to be presidential, which is in April.
That is
Now, they moved it
correct.
up, right?
The presidential,
We moved it from September to May.
well, there's going to be 3 elections this 2024. All right, there will be the presidential primary at the beginning of April with time off for the Easter holiday. There will be a regular primary, if anyone primaries, for any offices other than president. It's looking like August for that one. And then, of course, there's the general election on November 5. We anticipate at least 2 major mailings. One to announce how the early voting works and where it's going to be in advance of the presidential, and then another something major in advance of the general election, because the mailing for the primaries only goes to party-affiliated voters.
Can you explain why they split the primaries from the 2 different months?
Part of it is that when the Republicans and Democrats decided they wanted to have more impact on the choice of the presidential candidates, they didn't think about what this was going to do to the rest of the electoral calendar. And they didn't make any provisions, so it looks like we're going to be doing this 3 times.
Just a
Yeah.
question for me. Is there any history of how much overtime usually is spent for an election, maybe presidential or primaries that you've seen in the past?
Actually, the amount of overtime in the office is minimal, because up to this point, you didn't have to worry about checking voters off as they voted. You could have the sheets, the checker sheets, brought into the office after the election was over, and then the staff could handle it during the regular working day.
Okay.
So this is going to be a completely new ball of wax. We have no idea.
Councilman Shepherd?
So I can't imagine we're the only town that's in this predicament, right?
Of the 169 towns in Connecticut that are eligible, over 100 have already applied for the grants.
Right, and I suppose there's limited funds at this point that we made available for those grants.
I wish I knew the answer to that. Also, there was a Zoom conference with the Secretary of the State last week. I did not hear a clear answer on that.
Can you tell us about any other efforts there are to talk with the legislature or to the governor's offices or the Secretary of State's office as far as acquiring additional funding?
I believe ROVAC has been in contact with the Secretary's office, but what she's been telling us by Zoom is go talk to your legislators, which means that she does not feel, I think, that she has sufficient backing yet for the funds that may be needed. If they also want to change the technology on us, as in new voting machines, there had better be extra money appointed, because I went to the demo for the new machines, and it's new machinery, it's new ballot paper, it's new carrying cases for the machines. The whole thing is going to be, it's from scratch. All right, getting hard information out of the Secretary's office has been a tad difficult.
Thank you.
Thank
Are there
you.
any more questions?
Thank you.
Call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Thank you. Councilman Shively, can you please read Resolution TC 30-13?
Certainly. Resolution TC 30-13, be it resolved that $100,000 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance to 010304005222204, recycling services fees and fees contractual.
You have a second? Second. Thank you. Mr. Chavez here, are there any questions about this resolution? Councilman Chavez?
So I understand this is directly related to the problem of the tires that were dumped in Old Mine Park, is that correct?
Yes.
And this would be the total amount that would be required to remove and remediate that?
This is an estimate, Councilman. We had difficulty having any responses to receive some additional estimates. So we have a unit cost estimate right now with an estimate of how many loads, but until they actually get in there and start removing the tires from the park, we really don't know exactly what that number is.
And just one follow-up to that, actually in two parts. First of all, do I understand it correctly that until now, we were waiting for approval from the state to be able to actually remove those tires? Is that correct? Because of legal ramifications?
We were being prudent because this was working its way through the court system. I spoke to the investigator from the state's attorney's office 3 weeks ago, who told me that at this point we could remove them. They had what they needed from their end, so removing them would not compromise the outcome of that prosecution. And that he is, I've provided to him the estimates that we received, and the state is going to pursue some level of restitution, but they cannot tell, they don't know what that is at this point.
Well, that's another question. Would that remediation potentially come to our town?
Yes, whatever the restitution is, it would be on the town's behalf. So it would come back to us, whatever that is. But I really don't know what that might be or what the capacity will be of the individuals that were arrested. Until it goes through the court system, we're really not going to know.
And then part two of my previous question is that you might also understand that although we are free now as a town to contract and remove those tires, our position is still, and the Parks Department is still saying that we should not, that no one in the public should actually participate in this to try to do anything along themselves.
I would recommend strongly that we do not have anyone do that. Tires are heavy to begin with. This time of year being, they probably have water in them. They're going to freeze soon because it will get cold eventually. It's going to make it even more dangerous to have individuals that are not trained or equipped to do it safely. So the estimates that we have is one company that has a truck with a winch that they basically will tie a certain amount of them down below and pull them up through a mechanical means. And then they'll have labor up top that will weave them into containers that will go to a proper disposal site. That's not something that we would want anyone trying to do on their own because that's a recipe for an injury.
Thank you.
Do we know, and again, if you can't answer the question, I understand. Do we know how many times they dumped the tires? Was it once, twice?
There were multiple locations identified. It began, it was last spring before the foliage came back into the trees that it was identified for the first time. And then when we went to investigate, we worked with the property owner and a contractor that had equipment on site. They set up the camera that ultimately was triggered to capture the individuals returning. We left things alone, hoping that we can somehow, the police department was doing additional patrols, trying to apprehend whoever was doing this. And eventually they did come back, but we had a camera that triggered a notification to someone that then called the police department. They immediately went out and were able to apprehend them in the process of dumping additional tires. But there are, if you look at this, there are a number of locations along the back there, so it's multiple loads. And this, I might say, is a statewide dilemma. This is happening everywhere. Indian Wells, I think you may have seen early summer, they had a massive illegal dumping of tires there also that the state had to go in to remove. It's rampant. There is a tire deposit that is supposed to be coming into effect that should alleviate it, just like the bottle bill that will give an incentive for somebody to bring the tire back to the garage to get their $5 or $10, whatever that is. That hopefully is going to help because right now it's an easy thing for them to come into, especially dark areas of urban centers and underneath viaducts and railroad underpasses, and just dump entire loads in the middle of the street. So this is happening everywhere.
Just one question for me, just thinking about this is essentially our problem now, until it goes through the court system. I think you and I talked about this before, but I wanted clarity. Do these tires have any value to the town? Is there any way to either turn them over, reutilize them, recycle them?
No, there really isn't. Years ago, they were used. There were processes to grind them, to use them for different commercial applications. Everything from the granules for fields, athletic fields, to playground sets. But there's just an environmental side to that where they've kind of backed away from a lot of that. You don't see it being used as much, the off-gassing and that sort of thing. The processing of the tires from a manufacturing standpoint, when they have to grind these and they have to process them, they emit oil. So that's an environmental process in itself. So it's so complicated that there really is not much of a value to them at this time. Hopefully someday there's a technology that can use them, but right now, nothing that I know of.
Thank you. Any other questions? Put to a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Councilman Sather, could you please read Resolution TC 30-4?
Sure. Resolution TC 30-14, be it resolved that a resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $5,625,000 for the Trumbull Board of Education Capital Improvement Plan 2024-2025 and authorizing the insurance of $5,625,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. Full resolution attached.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Is there board ed?
Good evening, Dave Cody, Director of Operations for the Board.
Okay. Can you talk a little more about sort of breakdown of this resolution for us, please?
Yeah, there's basically 3 items now that are on this request. The first being the Middlebrook Elementary HVAC project. I think we're asking for 1.5 in this bonding request. The Booth Hill Elementary roof replacement, there's 1.75 in this request. And for the high schools, Google Stadium field replacement, field and track and areas to be replaced. And I think that was a 2.3 net range. I'm not sure exact number because it got up. I'm sorry. I got increased. You want to go first, Kevin?
I'm sorry? Oh, no, go ahead.
Since we just did the roof at Middlebrook,
Yeah.
I know you went in, I know that you did a grant, but we didn't get it for the HVAC for that particular school at the time, because for the reason, correct?
Yeah, we just applied again
Yeah,
this
right.
month for it. So
Right.
we won't hear until probably March.
Now, is that going to mess up the roof that we just put on? I can't remember. That's why they're at a meeting a while. So
Unfortunately, we will be cutting into the roof, but I mean, that's standard process to put new curbs in and reflash the roof in. So it's not going to destroy the roof, but it would have been better to put the equipment in before the roof, but it's done all the time. It's not anything out of the ordinary.
Now, since we're in the middle of doing the Booth Hill one, how did you get the grants for that one also?
Yes, we received the grant approval for Booth Hill.
Oh, you did? For the
Yes,
HVAC?
in November.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
So we're still on track for that one?
Yes,
We had a
sir.
meeting in a while, so I don't remember.
Yes, we have a, what they call the plan completion review with the state. January 29th, I believe, is the date. So we're scrambling to get all the signatures needed and approvals from the building department and fire marshal so that we can final. Pardon me?
Are we on track to start doing for the summer?
I believe so. We're hoping to get it out to bid in February, March timeframe. I think that'll get us lined up.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
We're not in that same market that we were in a couple of years ago.
All right, thank you. Councilman Shepherd?
Could you talk? Sorry. Could you talk a little bit about the field replacement? I'm sorry. Was there something that First Selectman would want to add first?
I'm having trouble hearing over here, unfortunately. If you can speak a little louder over the mic, okay? Sure. And let me ask you a question. Did you, because I couldn't hear, did you ask about the HVAC at Booth Hill or the roof? There's no HVAC at Booth Hill. The HVAC is at Middlebrook.
Well, both. So I'm on the committee, so,
Microphones.
thanks. No, I'm on the committee, so I know about the, we know we're in the middle of the Booth Hill one. We haven't had a meeting in a while with the...
For the roof.
For the roof.
Right.
We're just talking roofs and HVAC.
But there's no, unless I'm wrong,
He
there's no,
was talking about the Middlebrook.
you talked about the Middlebrook HVAC.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't hear
But
you.
then he was also, we were gonna try to get the HVAC at Booth Hill. That's what you put the grant in for.
No. The grant that we just received for Booth Hill was for the roof
Oh, for
replacement.
the roof replacement.
Yes, sir.
Now, you didn't go in for HVAC for that one?
No.
Okay, no. Sorry, I got that mixed up. Thank you.
That's okay.
We would have had to seek a capital authorization to apply for another grant.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Right, and that would have had to be on the capital plan already.
Correct.
This is the importance of the capital plan. So, can I move on to the football field? Is that all right? Okay, just want to make sure there weren't any other questions about the other two. So originally, we put up that $3 million mark. Then it was, the request was 1.8, right? But then the BOF bumped it up to 2.2. Can you kind of just make sure you explain exactly what that process was?
Subsequent to the capital plan, we were asked to prioritize by the former chair of the town council, and which we did. And we had to tailor back our request a little bit to fit into what Mr. Sorrell felt was a proper number to be requesting for this year's bonding. And so we worked to cut down the project into being essentially what is needed to replace the field this year, so from the track in. So we were kind of guesstimating, because Mr. King was telling us that there was some in the Area D work that was equipment that could be held off. We weren't sure of the number, so we had asked for 1.8, and then it came back from the vendor a couple days after that it was really more in the 2.2 range.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
David, just a question. When we look at Middlebrook, it said that the funding last year was denied for two issues. One was the state had said, or the department said it had trouble finding in the town council resolution meeting agenda the funding. And the second was the cost estimate wasn't found until after their rejection.
Yep.
But what happened?
Well, I had a subsequent phone call after our rejection. I kept requesting it from folks up there, and we went through my actual application, and I said to them that I uploaded the cost estimate in this location because there wasn't a specific location in the actual application. It's all an online application, so you either get the answer yes or no, type in a little bit of information, or upload a file. There was no proper location to upload the file, so at the bottom I found a place, like kind of a catch-all that had other documents uploaded to, so I put it there.
Okay.
And then they found it, and they said, oh my God, you broke the system. We've got to fix this for the next round. And so this time they came out with a requirement for a local funding authorization letter, which we've secured and have sent up there. So it's a little clearer to them how the money was authorized by the town council.
Okay. Is there anything that we can do to help, give the information, or any way we can make it clearer for them? Or is it now, the system is now set where they can see?
Yeah, I believe it's much clearer this time. Yeah. So we pulled together a resolution, the local funding letter, and again, the capital plan.
I just want to, particularly for Booth Hill and Middlebrook, because they impact the immediate building. These projects are going to be good to go to start in June, and then, or when school lets out, and they'll be complete by the start of the school year. Are we gonna?
For Booth Hill, yes. We'll be ready to go in June, and we'll have it done. We just completed Middlebrook Elementary this summer, which was a much more complex and larger roof, much greater roof area. We were able to have it done in August before the kids came back.
I meant for the HVAC system?
The HVAC is going to be a 2-year project. The state has a constraint on this grant that it has to be done by December 31st of 2025 unless we ask for an extension for cost.
Are there any other questions?
Hey, Dave, on the field, we just replaced it, what, 10, 11 years ago?
I believe it was 11 years.
11 years ago. We're bonding it for how many years?
We're what? I'm
We're
sorry.
bonding for, we bond the field for what, 20 years
I can't answer that. I'd have to do
usually?
a finance
Because we're
director.
bonding, and again, I know we have to replace the field, I understand that. I know you gotta fix the track, I understand that, but it seems like, and even with the pavement, we're bonding stuff that for 10 years, that's really, we're bonding it for 20 years, this lasted 10. This field we're gonna put in is gonna last for 10 years, approximately, right? There's no other way to get, that's the best field there is, that's going to only last 10 years. What's the normal wear and tear on these things? Depends on how much you use it. These fields.
It's an average about that 10 to 12 years. Because I've seen it in past positions, you know, at UB and at the city, you know, that's the life expectancy.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Call for a vote. All in favor?
I'm sorry. Dan, do we have to make a motion to change the amount?
I don't think the amount was going to change.
Well, the Board of Finance amount.
Board of Finance, what you have here is the Board of Finance number.
Yeah, but the resolution is for 5625, and this says 5570. So I was asking.
The bonding cost stand?
Well, bonding costs.
Yeah. You got, on the resolution, you got 5625, and then you got, on the paper here, it's.
That's the actual cost. It doesn't include the bonding.
Right, there's an additional 55,000 for bonding.
So you had a little 10% or something like that. But those are, what you have here tonight, just to clarify, in both of these motions, both of these resolutions, what you have here tonight is you're working off the town count, the Board of Finance numbers. So either you can reduce the number, you can increase the number, or recommend reduction or increase. But these are the Board of Finance numbers. They're not the original numbers submitted by the first select board.
But just to clarify also, if we try to increase, it's going to require a 2/3 majority of the town council, correct?
At the council, we're not
I think I'm
required,
not here, but.
we're not required 2/3 here. So
Right.
if you're going to recommend something, if you have a majority, that would be sufficient. But at the council, any increase would require 2/3 of the membership of the council.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Passes. Councilman Foreman, could you please read resolution TC 30-15? Sure.
Resolution TC 30-15. Be it resolved that the resolution entitled Resolution Appropriating $12,575,000 for the Trumbull Town Capital Improvement Plan 2024-25 and authorizing the issuance of $12,575,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose is hereby approved. Full resolution attached.
Second. Councilman Sherman? Mr. Sherman, could you please walk through the high level of the 12.5?
Sure. I wish I printed this out a little bit larger. I apologize. So beginning with page 2 of 12, just right from the top there, roadway paving, we have averaged since I've been here, about $5 million, $5.1 million to maintain the town's roads. We implemented a pavement preservation program with the support of the Council and Board of Finance last year through the ARPA funding that was given to the town. So we've expanded some additional road improvements that way. The Trumbull Library, the $112,000, that's for design of a new roof at the library. So that's so that we have a design that we can then get some budgetary numbers next year to have a conversation for support of the project once we know exactly what that is. Because coming in now to ask for a number for the roof would be just speculation. We don't know. Town Hall, this is the third phase of Town Hall HVAC improvements. We've already had some noticeable improvements to the building with balancing. This already in the 5 rooftop units have been ordered. Those should be arriving sometime around April or May for installation before the cooling system is necessary. So this is phase 3 of 4 installments that we had presented to the council a couple of years ago. The police headquarters, the $75,000, that's for as we have made improvements to security and safety improvements at the police department, we have just recently installed all of the conduit in the rear parking lot and prepped everything for pavement once the plants reopen in probably around April, early April. And this additional money is, well, they've had a couple of instances where on the front end, when cars are leaving, the police cars are leaving at night when it's evening, it's hard to see pedestrians because of the angle. So we are going to be reinstalling a sidewalk further away from where the cars exit that side of the building to allow for pedestrian safety, that they'll be able to see a car coming, and also someone driving in the car that they don't have a blind spot that someone could get hurt. So it's a safety improvement. Public Works yard. These are additional ongoing improvements at the yard. We had numerous, and right now I'm blank as to which one this is because we had cut out all of the other ones and just retained this one project line for $200,000. EMS building, it's a repaving the lot and front entrance to the building, where right now it's very rutted. It's pretty unsafe. We really need to make some safety improvements there. And installing an overhang on the rear where the 2 supervisors' vehicles will be able to park under, because during the awning will shelter the 2 supervisors' vehicles that respond to 911 calls. Also, many times you'll see an ambulance come and one of the supervisors arrive. Those supervisors' vehicles right now do not fit inside of the building. So when you have freezing rain and snow and that sort of thing, they theoretically can be delayed substantially preparing the vehicle to get to an emergency. So it's really it's something that they've advocated for, that we felt was very important for public safety. And just clarification on the $200,000 for the public facilities. We have the buildings there were built primarily in the 70s. Some of them have experienced water damage. We have been in an incremental phasing of new roofs on those buildings. So these are for the final for 2 additional buildings now. We did 3 this past year. And we're trying to just seal up the envelope so that we can make them tight and we don't have experience any further damage to the structures. That's the purpose of that. Town-wide, I don't have that detail on town-wide. 100,000, is that sidewalk?
Building security updates.
Building security updates town-wide. That's, we've had much discussion the last couple of years about the strategically implementing surveillance camera security systems in this building, at some of the parks, some of the parking lots to the parks. And that has been an incremental expansion to those locations for public safety. That also includes electronic access to buildings, such as this one. Public facilities has a number of them. We've just recently installed Helen Plum, which we will be bringing back online in the near future for it will be available for town organizations for meetings. And we used to have them pick up a key here to go down to open and come back. We basically will be able to give an organization a card. That card will be programmed to when their actual meeting will be held, what night and time, and they'll be able to actually card in. There is a security system there that will know who's going in and out of the building. So that's what that $100,000 is. The $1.1 million paving.
So it looks like there's 300,000 for parks and then 1.135 million for paving and 625,000.
Yes, and it's Unity.
Yes.
That's Unity Park, and we've made significant improvements in that watershed area across the street in Twin Brooks. Obviously, that flows now to Unity. We have homes in that Unity area there, especially those first couple, where there's a tight culvert with that bridge that comes into Unity at the gate. Some of those houses have significant flooding impact to them, and that's caused by the volume of water that's coming. It's being pinched at a point there, a culvert that no longer really supports as it should. So these are primarily drainage improvements at Unity that should alleviate and assist with stormwater management in that neighborhood. Yes, Council.
Yeah, George. One of the neighbors, so I see him right there, he lives behind, his house is behind the health building. The pond there,
Yep.
The water flows over in his property. Now it's doing that now because UI stripped all the trees out.
Yep.
And then, I'm not sure if you guys did, but somebody cleaned it up a couple years ago and put some new trees up, but they killed all the stuff that would slow it down. This project's been on the books since like 2016.
Yes.
So my question is, you got it on here for this year, this is a very aggressive stuff that you guys have here. It's a lot. Are you gonna be able to get this stuff done this year? There's only so many hours in a day and stuff. So that's my question, especially like this, for example. It's been on the books for 8 years. So that's my question for that. Like, are we gonna get this stuff done? I mean,
Sure.
is that?
Valid question. I'm going to ask Town Engineer Bill Mauer to just give you a little bit more depth on that, because it has been on since 16. Bonding, when we went out to bid, the bid responses exceeded the capacity of the bonding that we had in place. So that's where I'll let Bill give you a little bit more depth as to how we buy it.
Good evening, Bill Maher, Town Engineer. So Unity Park has been a project ongoing, like you said, since 2016. It took a while to get through the state DEP permitting process. There's new outfalls for both the ponds, which don't exist as an outfall now. The skating pond has a new weir outlet that we'll be putting in. There's a weir outlet from the upper pond, a new culvert. And you're correct. UI went through and cut out all the trees over there and across the street. We have a lot more runoff than we used to have there. We're going to have to deal with it.
Thanks. But are you going to start this year?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
and I know in that district, this is sensitive for you because you represent that area. We have numerous calls also from the residents in that area with the flooding that they're experiencing the last few years. So we're arriving at a point where we feel that we can actually implement this finally. The 625, that is to close the gap on, we bid that project again in the fall, and that is to close the gap in funding for the pool construction. I think that you did see that there was 300,000 discussion that there would be some requests for ARPA support for the splash pad that will be incorporated into the renovation of that pool.
Mr. Chair, might I ask a quick question? So just to be clear, I understand, I remember talking about the using the ARPA funds for that, and that is going to be if we can do it at the same time that we do with everything else, right? It would cost us more if we try to do it later, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Are you on a specific section or just bounce around?
I'm just going down.
All right, Brad, did you do paving yet? No. Just tell me.
It's road paving?
Yeah.
That was the first one.
I gotta go back to that.
Oh, okay.
That's Unity.
No, this is Kevin's section. There's all the roads by Kevin's house.
And yours.
There's one road that's Round Hill Road.
Microphone.
Round Hill Road. Kevin knows that road. It's like a puzzle in some parts. Kevin probably knows. Aren't you guys going to try to do the pump station down that area? So you're going to pave the roads and put the pump station?
No, that's over on Lebanon. And that's, I don't think there's any immediate plan to do that.
That was contract 5 that was proposed. Contract 5 that had been proposed. And the roads in that area have really fallen into disrepair because it was in anticipation that there would be a major sewer project and all of that would be reconstructed as part of that. Since the WPCA board voted not to move forward with Project 5, we've recognized that we can no longer allow those roads to continue to deteriorate, so we have to start addressing that neighborhood to be fair to them.
Yeah. Any reason why you left Round Hill Road off?
What about the Round Hill?
No, it's on there.
Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't see it. That road's really bad.
It better be on there because I've been telling all my neighbors it's going to get done.
that road's bad, especially at the top part.
And over the next few years, we will continue in that general area just to renovate all of those roads because it's very, very bad in some of those. Highway Department, the $751,000, that was for some general equipment, including 2 pieces of snow removal equipment, one full-size truck and a 550, which is a smaller, less expensive vehicle that we can use in certain areas, especially cul-de-sacs and that sort of thing, without having to send out one of the larger trucks. And just so you know, when we bring one of these trucks online, something is retiring behind it. So it's not that we're accumulating a stock of equipment that is really deteriorating. Our fleet size, the number of in the fleet, has been reduced year by year because we're bringing in equipment that is more versatile, which allows us to get rid of some of those pieces of equipment that were 20, 25 years old that really they were holding on to them just because they were single use. We're eliminating single-use type vehicles wherever possible and having equipment that is more versatile that we can use year-round. Engineering. The engineering, 1,010,000 billable for you.
have Williams Road is on the, is part of that 1,010,000. Williams Road, we did receive a grant for that. Yes. For the culverts. The Lower Nichols, which is part of what we're talking about, contract 5 for the drainage work there, $750,000 that has to be done before we pave those roads. Townwide culverts, ongoing, we have 267 culverts all over town, and we have to address 100,000 to start maintaining some of those. There's a 40,000 for a school traffic design. Since COVID, we've had numerous problems with drop-off. And this is to study that and see what we can do to help alleviate some of the traffic congestion and drop-off and pickup.
And then WPC.
Are there any questions?
We can go into WPCA.
Everyone's favorite.
Yeah. So WPCA, we have the big ticket item is the 1.7 million for replacing the Old Town Road force main. We have been we're required by the state to replace it because of the numerous breaks that we've had there and ongoing problems. So that's the big ticket item. We have pump station rehabilitation for Wildwood, 270,000. Force main evaluation. We have 13 pump stations, we have 13 force mains. We want to get ahead of the curve, so some of these are approaching 50 years and end of life, so we can evaluate the ones that have to be replaced first.
Are there any questions?
How is it still holding up down there?
Good. We did the first section. We did roughly 2,000 feet. It's a 10,000 foot plus.
That's the park, right?
Yeah.
Beardsley Park?
Yes, Beardsley Park. Now we're doing a study to find out, because it goes under the Pequannock River and up under Route 25. So we're evaluating the next phase. We suspect that there may be a problem there.
But then they rerouted around the river, so you don't have to go underneath it anymore?
Well, that's what we have to look at. And so we're scheduled for inserting a pipe diver to actually take a look at the insides of the remaining of it. Underneath the river is the lowest point of the whole project. We suspect there might be some issues percolating there.
It's like 40, 50 years old.
Yes.
Any questions? Can we move to a vote? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you.